All right, let's dive in. We're taking on Rich Dad, Poor Dad today.
Oh yeah, this one's a classic.
It really is. It's like personal finance 101 for so many people,
Hmm.
but
Sparked a lot of debate too.
it has. It definitely has. Some people swear by it, others not so much.
Well, that's what makes it so interesting, right? It really challenges you to rethink some of those.
Like those old ideas about money.
Yeah, exactly.
So for anyone who hasn't read it, the book is all about, well, Kiyosaki's two dads, right?
Yeah, his real dad and then his best friend's dad, the rich dad.
And it was the rich dad's advice that really kind of shaped his whole outlook.
Right. I mean, his real dad, he was super educated, went to the best schools
But struggled financially,
all the time.
which is kind of, it goes against everything we're always told.
It does, go to school, get a good job, work your way up,
That's the recipe, you're right.
supposedly. But the rich dad, he had a completely different take.
He was all about financial literacy, right?
Yeah, understanding how money works, not just earning a paycheck.
Mhm.
He wanted Kiyosaki to build assets.
Like that story where he makes Kiyosaki work for, what was it, 10 cents an hour?
Yeah, that's a good. It wasn't about the low wage, though. It was about the lesson.
Teaching him to see beyond just the paycheck.
Exactly. Think about it. You could be making a ton of money
But if you don't know how to manage it,
or invest it.
doesn't really matter, does it?
Not in the long run. You could end up like Kiyosaki's real dad,
Highly educated, working hard.
but always struggling. It's like
Yeah.
filling a leaky bucket.
It's a good way to put it.
You got to find a bigger well.
So that's where the whole assets versus liabilities thing comes in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's Kiyosaki's core principle. The rich, they buy assets.
The poor have expenses, right?
Yep. And the middle class.
They buy liabilities that they think are assets.
Bingo.
This is where it gets kind of mind-bending, right?
Yeah. It really challenges you to re-examine
Mhm.
what you consider an asset. Like, does it actually put money in your pocket?
Or is it taking money out?
That's the key question.
And that's why he uses the example of a house,
It's
right?
a classic example.
Most people think of their house as their biggest asset.
Sure, but Kiyosaki says, hold on a minute. What if those expenses, the mortgage payments, the taxes, what if they outweigh any potential income you're getting from it?
Suddenly it's not an asset anymore.
It's a liability.
It's a big shift in thinking.
It is. It forces you to think about cash flow.
Like what's actually coming in versus going out.
Exactly.
And that ties into his idea of, what's the phrase? Minding your own business.
Right. It's not just about working for someone else.
It's about building something of your own.
Creating your own asset column.
I love that story about Ray Crocus.
McDonald's.
Yeah. When someone asked him what business he was in.
He said, real estate.
It's brilliant. He wasn't just selling burgers. He was building an empire based on...
Owning the land.
Exactly. And that's what Kiyosaki's getting at, right? What assets can you create?
Could be your rental property.
A side hustle.
Investing in the stock market.
Even just like acquiring new skills that make you more valuable.
Exactly. It's about building your own financial foundation.
So you're not relying on just that one paycheck.
Exactly. Multiple streams of income.
Now, get ready for this because this one can be a little controversial. Kiyosaki's view on corporations.
Oh, here we go.
He's not anti-corporation, but he definitely sees things differently.
Well, he points out how corporations have certain, advantages.
Tax advantages.
Right. And legal protections that individuals often don't get.
He basically says the rich use corporations to their advantage.
While the middle class ends up carrying a heavier burden.
It's like he even uses that Robin Hood analogy, right?
Yeah, how sometimes tax policies, even if they're meant to redistribute wealth, end up.
Benefiting the wealthy anyway.
It's pretty thought-provoking.
It is. He's not saying corporations are evil, but he's saying, understand the rules of the game.
Learn how to play it strategically.
So you're not just working hard within a system that might not be designed to benefit you.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about one of my favorite concepts from the book. Inventing money.
Ooh, that's a good one.
This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes.
No, it's about financial intelligence.
Seeing opportunities that other people miss.
And finding creative ways to make money work for you.
Remember that story where he buys that rundown house for like 20 grand?
And flips it for 60?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He created a $40,000 asset just by being smart.
Not by breaking his back.
Exactly. And he says anyone can learn to do this.
With the right knowledge and mindset.
It's about recognizing undervalued assets, adding value, and then profiting from that value.
And that doesn't have to just apply to real estate.
It could be anything.
Your career, your skills, your network,
It's about being resourceful.
and thinking outside the box.
So it's not about luck or being born rich.
It's about developing your financial intelligence.
It's like learning a new language, right?
Exactly. Once you understand the grammar of finance,
You can write your own success story.
you got it.
Okay, so we're seeing how inventing money, it's not about, some magic formula. It's about...
It's more about a way of thinking, right?
Exactly. It's about opportunity and having that know-how to actually use it. But
There's got to be something holding people back.
yeah, why isn't everyone doing this?
Well, Kiyosaki, he lays out 5 big roadblocks.
5.
Yeah. Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
Whoa. That covers a lot of ground.
It does. And I think we can probably all relate to at least one of those.
Oh, for sure.
So let's start with fear.
Okay, fear. Like fear of what?
Well, Kiyosaki says fear of losing money. That's a big one.
Makes sense. I mean, no one wants to lose money.
Right, but he says this fear can actually paralyze people. They'd rather just...
Really safe.
Yeah, even if it means staying broke.
And risk losing what they have.
Exactly.
He actually compares it to, like, the fear of public speaking.
I remember that, yeah. That fear of judgment, of failing in front of everyone.
I totally get that. I mean, who wants to look foolish, right?
But he's saying that same fear can hold you back financially.
It's like that fear is keeping you from even trying.
And then there's cynicism.
Ooh, yeah, cynicism.
This one's tough because cynics, they focus on all the negatives, right?
All those reasons why something won't work.
They see the risks.
But they miss the opportunities
They're so busy pointing out why it can't be done.
that they never actually try to do it.
And that's the difference between criticism and analysis, right?
Okay, criticism versus analysis. Explain that.
So cynics, they criticize. They tear things down. But people who analyze,
They're looking for solutions.
they're trying to understand how things work
so they can make better decisions.
based on facts, not just fear or negativity.
So it's about having a discerning eye, not just...
Shutting everything down.
Okay, what about laziness?
This one's tricky because it's not always about, physical laziness.
Like being a couch potato.
Right. Kiyosaki, he's more concerned with mental laziness.
Oh, like
The unwillingness to learn, to grow.
to really understand your finances.
It's that I'll figure it out later attitude.
That can really hold people back.
It's easy to put things off, especially when it comes to money.
It can be intimidating.
But the longer you wait
The harder it gets.
to break free from that cycle of, living paycheck to paycheck.
And then there are bad habits.
Ah, yes. Those are insidious.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Spending more than you earn,
Racking up debt.
not saving.
Not investing.
Those habits, they can really create a downward spiral.
It's like being on a financial treadmill.
You're working hard.
But going nowhere.
And then, last but not least, we have arrogance.
Arrogance. How does that fit in?
Well, Kiyosaki says arrogance often masks ignorance.
Oh, interesting. So it's like people who think they know it all
They're actually the ones who are missing out.
because they're not open to new ideas.
They don't want to admit they might be wrong
So they just stay stuck.
in their old ways of thinking.
It's like they've got blinders on.
So, I think as you're listening to all this,
It's good to kind of do a self-check, right?
yeah, which of these obstacles might be holding you back
It's kind of like holding up a mirror.
to your own financial habits and beliefs?
See what needs to change.
Exactly.
Okay, so now that we've identified the roadblocks,
What do we do about them?
how do we actually get started on this path to financial freedom?
Well, Kiyosaki, he gives us 10 steps to developing financial intelligence.
10 steps. That's manageable, right?
It is. And some of them are pretty straightforward, like finding mentors.
Okay, mentors. That makes sense.
He says it's crucial to learn from people who have already achieved what you want.
I've already walked the path.
They can guide you.
Help you avoid the pitfalls.
It's like having a financial Sherpa, right?
Leading you up the mountain of wealth. I like that analogy. What else?
Mastering financial formulas.
Uh-oh. Math.
Don't worry, it's not about becoming a mathematician.
Okay, good.
It's about understanding the basic principles.
Like accounting, cash flow, investing.
Right. Kiyosaki, he actually gives you specific formulas and strategies that you can use.
So it's not just theory. It's practical advice.
Yeah, it's like learning the language of money.
So you can start building your own financial sentences.
I like that.
And then there's that one that's so simple but so powerful.
Pay yourself first.
Oh, yeah, that one.
What does that mean to you?
Well, it means before you pay any bills,
Before you buy anything fun?
you set aside a portion of your income
For savings.
for investments.
For prioritizing your future self.
It's like making a deposit into your...
Financial freedom account.
And Kiyosaki, he talks a lot about overcoming that fear of failure, right?
Oh, absolutely. He says you have to embrace failure as part of the process
Not be afraid of it.
because everyone makes mistakes.
Even the most successful investors.
It's what you learn from those mistakes that matters.
It's about having that resilience.
To bounce back.
Keep moving forward.
And he also talks about, discipline,
Like self-discipline.
just tracking your spending. He actually challenges readers to do that for a month.
Just to see where their money's going.
It can be eye-opening.
It is. I did that once, and I was like, whoa, I spent how much on coffee?
You start to see those patterns.
And then you can make changes.
Exactly. Become more conscious of your spending habits.
Now, there's one concept that I always found kind of intriguing, the idea of being an Indian giver.
Oh, yeah, that one. It's a little controversial.
It is. I'm curious to hear how that relates to money. Okay, that sounds a little controversial. I'm curious to hear how this applies to personal finance.
He's actually referring to a cultural misunderstanding between European settlers and Native Americans. Settlers were often confused when, after being given a blanket, the Native American would later ask for it back.
Oh, I see.
They didn't understand that it was a cultural practice of sharing, not giving outright.
So how does that translate to building wealth?
Kiyosaki's point is that you can create win-win situations by finding ways to give something of value, whether it's your time, skills, or resources, and then receiving something in return. It's about building relationships, creating opportunities, and fostering a spirit of reciprocity.
So it's not about taking advantage of people, but about finding ways to create mutually beneficial exchanges that lead to abundance for everyone involved. I like that.
He also emphasizes the importance of finding mentors and surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you in certain areas. Think about it. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room.
That's a good point.
He talks about how valuable it is to have a team of advisors, accountants, lawyers, brokers who can guide you and help you make informed decisions. But he also cautions against blindly following anyone's advice. You need to do your own research, develop your own understanding, and ultimately make your own choices.
It's about being an active participant in your financial journey, not just passively following someone else's lead.
Right. Now, one of Kiyosaki's most thought-provoking points is the idea that the rich don't work for money, they have their money work for them. He's talking about building streams of passive income, money that comes in without directly trading your time for it.
Right, passive income. That's the dream. Right.
This is where his concept of the cash flow quadrant comes in.
The cash flow quadrant. I've heard of that.
He breaks down the 4 different ways people earn income: as an employee, a self-employed professional, a business owner, or an investor.
Okay, I see. So it's about where your income comes from.
Exactly. And he argues that employees and self-employed individuals are often trapped in the, what he calls the rat race.
The rat race. I think we've all felt that at some point.
Trading your time for money. Working harder and harder just to keep up.
Whereas business owners and investors, they're building systems and assets that generate income even when they're not actively working.
Exactly.
So it's not about quitting your job tomorrow, but about gradually shifting your income streams from active to passive, building financial freedom over time.
Exactly. Now get ready for this, because this is one of Kiyosaki's most controversial claims. Savers are losers.
Whoa, savers are losers. Isn't saving money a good thing? I mean, we've always been told to save.
He's not saying that saving is inherently bad, but he's challenging the traditional notion of simply putting your money in a savings account and hoping for the best.
Okay, I'm listening.
He argues that inflation and low interest rates can actually erode the value of your savings over time, making you lose money in the long run.
So your money is actually losing value if it's just sitting there.
In a way, yes. Especially if the interest you're earning is less than the rate of inflation.
I see. But I've always been taught the importance of having a saving safety net. How do we reconcile those two ideas?
He's advocating for investing your money, putting it to work in assets that have the potential to outpace inflation and generate higher returns.
So it's about making your money work as hard as you do.
Exactly.
Okay, so you need a balance, a safety net for short-term needs and investments to build long-term wealth.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, this book was written a while back, during a period of low inflation. Today, his points about the dangers of keeping your money in low-yield savings accounts, well, they're even more relevant.
Because inflation is higher now.
Exactly.
He really makes you think critically about how you're managing your money and question that conventional wisdom.
Yeah, that's one of the things I appreciate about this book. It really encourages you to think for yourself.
So it's not a financial Bible, but more like a financial wake-up call.
That's a good way to put it.
And he's very clear that this is his perspective, his journey. He even says, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm sharing what's worked for me.
And that's important for listeners to remember. This book is a starting point for a conversation, not a financial blueprint that everyone should follow blindly.
It's up to each individual to take these ideas and apply them in a way that makes sense for their own situation.
Right. He even encourages readers to seek out their own mentors, advisors, resources. Do your own research. Don't just take his word for it.
Find what works for you.
That's exactly.
Now, I know Rich Dad, Poor Dad has had its share of criticism over the years.
That's true. Some people say he oversimplifies things, that his anecdotes aren't always specific enough, and that his views on the wealthy and the tax system are a bit too general.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But I think his goal is to inspire people to think differently about money, not to write a textbook on economics.
Exactly. He wants to challenge your assumptions and get you thinking.
And to his credit, he acknowledges that he's not always giving specific financial advice. He's sharing his philosophy and the principles that have worked for him, but he emphasizes that everyone's situation is different.
Right. He's not claiming to have all the answers, but he's offering a different perspective.
A way to see things from a different angle.
And even if you don't agree with everything he says, there are some valuable nuggets of wisdom in this book.
I agree. His emphasis on financial education, the importance of building assets, the power of mindset, these are timeless principles that can benefit anyone, regardless of their background or current financial situation. One thing that really struck me was his focus on finding your passion and aligning it with your financial goals.
Oh yeah, that's so important. He talks about how working for money alone can lead to a feeling of emptiness and unfulfillment.
It's about finding what truly excites you and then figuring out how to make money from it.
It's about creating a life where you're not just financially free, but also emotionally and spiritually aligned with your work. He even talks about the importance of giving back, using your wealth to make a positive impact on the world.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's important to remember that financial success is not just about accumulating money. It's about creating a life of abundance, meaning, and purpose.
Well said.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, despite its flaws, can be a valuable tool on that journey. It challenges you to think differently, question your assumptions, and take control of your financial destiny.
And remember, the power to create a life of financial freedom lies within you. Take the lessons you've learned from this deep dive, apply them with wisdom and discernment, and never stop learning. The journey to financial abundance is an ongoing adventure. Thanks for joining us.